The nursery was supposed to be perfect. Every detail meticulously planned, every piece carefully chosen. I'd spent 7 months creating a sanctuary for my twins, and now I stood in the doorway of an empty room, holding 2 premature babies who'd just spent 3 weeks fighting for their lives in the NICU. "Where is everything?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the soft whimpers of my daughter against my chest. My husband Marcus stood beside me, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and slowly dawning horror. "Mom was supposed to check on the house while we were at the hospital. She said everything was fine. I'm Aria Thompson, 32 years old, and I'd just discovered that while I was having an emergency C-section at 31 weeks, my mother-in-law had sold every piece of furniture in my baby's nursery." "Call her," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Now." Marcus fumbled with his phone while I walked into the empty room. The custom oak cribs my father had handcrafted were gone. The matching changing table, the gliding rocker where I'd planned to nurse my babies, the dresser filled with tiny clothes I'd washed in gentle detergent, all gone. Even the blackout curtains had been removed, leaving glaring holes in the drywall. "Mom!" Marcus's voice echoed in the empty room. "We're home. The nursery is empty. What happened?" I could hear her voice through the phone, high and defensive. "Oh, that. Well, babies don't need expensive things. All that fancy furniture was just wasteful. I sold it to someone who actually appreciated it." "You what?" Marcus shouted, startling our son. I took the phone from him, switching to speaker. "Dolores," I said, fighting to keep my voice level. "You sold our nursery furniture? The furniture we bought for our babies." "Bought?" She scoffed. "You mean wasted money on? $8,000 for baby furniture. It's ridiculous. When Marcus was a baby, he slept in a drawer and was perfectly fine. Where is the money?" I asked. Silence. "Dolores, where is the $8,000? "Well, I had expenses," she said defensively. "That cruise I booked doesn't pay for itself. Besides, I did you a favor. I ordered you a nice portable crib from Walmart. It'll be delivered tomorrow." I handed our daughter to Marcus and walked out of the room before I said something I couldn't take back. Behind me, I heard Marcus exploding at his mother, but I couldn't process it. My babies, born at 31 weeks, who'd spent 3 weeks in the NICU, who still needed special care and monitoring, were supposed to come home to a safe, prepared space. Instead, they had nothing. I sat on our bed, pulling up my phone to check our security camera footage. We'd installed cameras after a series of break-ins in the neighborhood, never imagining they'd capture something like this. There she was, Dolores, letting strangers into our house, directing them to the nursery, watching as they carried out piece after piece of furniture. The timestamp showed it was the same day I went into premature labor, while I was literally in surgery, fighting to safely deliver our twins. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. Dolores wasn't just directing the removal. She was signing papers. Money was changing hands. This wasn't some misguided attempt to help. This was a calculated sale. "Marcus," I called. "Come look at this." He appeared in the doorway, our son in his arms, his face red with anger. She hung up on me. My own mother hung up when I told her the twins need their specialized mattresses for their reflux. "Look," I showed him the footage. She sold it the day I went into labor. The same day, Marcus. While I was being cut open to save our babies' lives. He sank onto the bed beside me. "I can't believe this. I can't." "There's more," I said, zooming in on the footage. "Look at what she's signing. That's a receipt. A formal sales receipt." "We need to call the police," Marcus said immediately. "First, we need to track down who bought it," I said. The footage shows their license plate. 2 hours later, after settling the twins in our bedroom, the only prepared space we had, I'd tracked down the buyer through local Facebook marketplace groups. Miranda Peterson had posted photos of her amazing nursery find with the caption, "Got all this beautiful custom furniture for a steal." The sweet older lady said her daughter didn't want it anymore. I messaged her immediately. "Hi Miranda, I believe you purchased nursery furniture from Dolores Thompson yesterday. I'm her daughter-in-law. That furniture was stolen. My husband and I were at the hospital delivering premature twins. We never authorized the sale." Her response was immediate. "OMG. Are you serious? She said you didn't want it. She had keys to the house and everything. We have security footage of the sale. Could we meet? I have premature twins who need their furniture back." "Of course. I'm so sorry. My husband is actually a police officer. He's going to want to see this footage. We agreed to meet that evening. Miranda turned out to be a heavily pregnant woman herself, due in just 2 weeks. Her husband, Officer James Peterson, was in full uniform when they arrived at our house. "I am mortified," Miranda said the moment she saw me. "I would never have bought it if I'd known." She seemed so legitimate. She even had a receipt book. "A receipt book?" I asked. Officer Peterson nodded grimly. She gave us an official-looking receipt. Said she ran an estate sale business on the side. He pulled out the receipt. "See, Dolores Thompson Estate Sales." There it was in black and white. My mother-in-law had created a fake business to sell our belongings. She'd signed her name, taken the money, and provided documentation that proved she knew exactly what she was doing. "This is fraud," Officer Peterson said. "And grand theft. The value exceeds $5,000, which makes it a felony in this state." "We just want our furniture back," Marcus said quietly. "These are our first children. We spent months preparing for them." Miranda was already pulling out her phone. "The furniture is yours. We'll return everything tomorrow." "But," she hesitated. "We already assembled the cribs. And the changing table. It might take some time." "We'll help," Officer Peterson said. "And we'll need to document everything for the police report. Mrs. Thompson, are you willing to press charges?" I looked at Marcus. His face was stone, but he nodded. "Yes," I said. She stole from her own grandchildren while they were fighting for their lives in the NICU. The next morning, a team arrived at our house. Officer Peterson, his partner, Miranda, and 2 of their friends. While the men reassembled the furniture in the nursery, Miranda and I talked. "She was so convincing," Miranda said, watching her husband work. "She said you were moving to a smaller place and didn't have room for such elaborate furniture. She even mentioned that you thought it was too fancy for babies." "I designed that nursery when I was 8 weeks pregnant," I said, cradling my daughter. "My father built those cribs by hand. The rocking chair was my grandmother's, restored and reupholstered. Every piece has meaning." "I'm having our payment to her reversed," Miranda said. "It was made by check, and my bank is already working on it since it was a fraudulent sale." "She spent it," I said. "On a cruise." Miranda's face hardened. "Then she'll have to figure out how to pay it back. I won't be out $8,000 for stolen goods." By afternoon, the nursery was restored. I stood in the doorway again, this time with tears of relief as my twins finally slept in their own cribs. Officer Peterson had taken our statements, the security footage, and the fraudulent receipt. "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "We'll submit this to the district attorney," Officer Peterson explained. "With the evidence you have, the security footage, the fraudulent business receipt, the confession to your husband about the cruise, it's a solid case. She'll likely be arrested within the week." "I can't believe it's come to this," Marcus said. "My own mother." The call came that evening. Dolores, hysterical. "How dare you?" she screamed when Marcus answered. "The bank reversed a check for $8,000. That was my money. That was money you obtained through fraud," Marcus said calmly. "You stole from us, Mom. From your grandchildren. I was helping. Those babies don't need expensive furniture. You're both so materialistic, wasting money on nonsense when I needed it for important things." "A cruise?" I interjected. "A cruise was more important than your grandchildren having a safe place to sleep? I deserve a vacation. I've worked hard all my life. You two are selfish, keeping all that money to yourselves, flaunting your success while I struggle." "We offered to help you with your bills," Marcus reminded her. "Multiple times. You said you didn't need it. I don't need charity. I needed what was fair. Those babies have everything, and I have nothing. Those babies were born 9 weeks early," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "They spent 3 weeks in the NICU. They came home to nothing because their grandmother decided her vacation was more important than their basic needs." "You're overreacting," she dismissed. "Babies in my day. In your day, infant mortality was higher," I snapped. "Our twins have special needs. They need firm mattresses for their reflux. They need the specialized monitors we had set up. They need the air purifier for their underdeveloped lungs. Every single thing in that nursery was chosen for a medical reason, not aesthetics." "Excuses," she huffed. "You just want to punish me for." The doorbell rang. Marcus looked out the window. "Mom, are you home right now?" "Of course I'm home. Where else would I be?" "You should answer your door," he said quietly. "What? Why?" Through the phone, we heard footsteps, a door opening, and then Dolores's shriek. "What is this?" "Ma'am, I'm Detective Morrison with the Fraud Division. We have a warrant for your arrest for grand theft and fraud. You have the right to remain silent." The phone clattered to the ground. We could hear Dolores protesting, demanding to know who reported her, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. Marcus ended the call and sat down heavily. "I can't believe this is happening." "She did this," I said firmly. "Not us. She made the choice to steal from her own family." The news of Dolores's arrest spread quickly through the family. My phone exploded with calls and texts. Some supported us, appalled by what she'd done. Others, primarily Dolores's sisters, accused us of overreacting. "She's a senior citizen." Aunt Helen called to scream. "How could you have her arrested like a common criminal?" "She committed a crime," I said simply. "Being a senior doesn't give you the right to steal." "But she's family. So are my children. She stole from premature infants." "Where's your outrage about that?" The legal process moved forward. Dolores was released on bail, paid for by her sisters. She was charged with grand theft, fraud, and filing false business documents. The fake receipt book they found at her house showed this wasn't her first time. She'd been running her estate sale business for months, though we were the only family members she'd targeted. The prosecutor offered a plea deal: 2 years probation, restitution to Miranda, and 200 hours of community service. But Dolores refused, insisting on her innocence. "I had a key," she told anyone who would listen. "They gave me a key. That means I had permission." The trial was set for 3 months later. In the meantime, we had a restraining order put in place after she showed up at our house, demanding to see her grandbabies. "You stole their furniture while I was giving birth to them," I told her through the door. "You don't get to play grandmother now. They're my son's children. I have rights." "You have the right to remain off our property," Marcus said. "Or we'll call the police." Again, she left, but not before keying my car on her way out. Security footage caught that too. Another charge added to her growing list. The day of the trial, I sat in the courtroom with our twins in their stroller. They were 4 months old now, healthy and thriving. Miranda sat behind us, her own newborn in her arms. She'd become a friend through all of this, bonded by the strange circumstances that brought us together. Dolores entered in a conservative suit, looking every inch the innocent grandmother her lawyer was trying to portray. But the evidence was overwhelming. Security footage of the theft. The fraudulent receipt with her signature. Bank records showing the crew's purchase an hour after depositing Miranda's check. Text messages to her sisters bragging about how she'd taught us a lesson about wasting money. The prosecutor presented it all methodically. Then came character witnesses. Other family members who'd noticed items missing after Dolores visited. A neighbor who'd seen her loading jewelry into her car during a family funeral. A pattern of theft disguised as helping or decluttering. When it came time for her to testify, Dolores took the stand with confidence. "They wasted money," she insisted. $8,000 for baby furniture when people are starving. It was morally wrong. I was teaching them a lesson about priorities. "By stealing?" the prosecutor asked. "By redistributing wealth that should have been shared with family." "Were you planning to share the cruise with family?" She faltered. "I needed a break from the stress they caused me." "The stress of your son having premature twins?" "The stress of their selfishness." It went downhill from there. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge, a grandmother herself, was scathing. "Mrs. Thompson, you stole from your own grandchildren while they were fighting for their lives. You showed no remorse, no understanding of the harm you caused. You've attempted to justify your actions as some kind of moral lesson when in reality, it was simple greed." She sentenced Dolores to 18 months in minimum security prison, 3 years probation, and full restitution to all victims. Dolores wailed as they led her away, screaming about unfairness and cruelty. But I felt no sympathy. She'd made her choices. 6 months later, our twins were crawling around the nursery my father had built for them, playing with toys on the soft rug Dolores had tried to steal but couldn't fit in the buyer's truck. The room was exactly as I'd envisioned it, a safe haven for my children. Marcus and I had started therapy to deal with the betrayal. Some days were harder than others. He'd lost his mother not to death but to her own greed and narcissism. "Do you think we'll ever forgive her?" he asked one evening as we watched the twins sleep. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But I know we'll never trust her again." A letter came from prison. Marcus burned it unopened. "I'm not ready," he said. "Maybe I'll never be ready." I understood. Some betrayals cut too deep for easy forgiveness. Dolores had stolen more than furniture. She'd stolen the joy of bringing our babies home, the trust between a son and mother, the potential relationship between grandmother and grandchildren. But looking at our twins, safe in their nursery, surrounded by love and the things we'd chosen for them, I felt grateful. Grateful for Miranda's honesty, for Officer Peterson's thoroughness, for a justice system that protected victims even when the perpetrator was family. Babies don't need expensive things, Dolores had said. She was wrong. Babies need love, safety, and parents who'll fight for them. The furniture was just furniture. But what it represented, our preparation, our love, our commitment to giving our children the best start in life, that was priceless. And no one, not even family, had the right to steal that from them. The twins started crying in stereo, demanding their evening feeding. Marcus and I each picked up a baby, settling into the restored rocking chairs that my grandmother would have loved to see used by her great-grandchildren. This wasn't the homecoming I'd planned, but it was ours, hard-won and protected. And that made it even more precious.